Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back for another Rage video. Now, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, some of you may be, for those who don't quite know what this is about, allow me to explain, because Hail to the King by Avenged Sevenfold had 10 songs on that album. But technically 11, and allow me to explain why. Because this is, according to the bio, this is an iTunes bonus track, and it is also a song that is very specifically dedicated to Sevenfold's fallen co-founder, drummer, songwriter, vocalist, and pianist James "The Rev" Sullivan, who passed away sadly in 2009. The Rev founded Avenged Sevenfold alongside his childhood and lifelong friends Matt M. Shadows Sanders and Zachary Vengeance Baker. Now, the song's lyrics praise his humanity and imperfections that he showed, and he wasn't afraid of who he really was. The song was more of a happy feeling as it is to So Far Away, with this celebrating Sullivan's life rather than mourning his death. So, at some point, there will be an album when we cover that will also talk about So Far Away. So it's kind of interesting how Sevenfold, they wanted to do it in two different ways. One where they celebrate his life, and also where they talk about his passing. And there's been an awful lot of songs over the years that have been paid tribute to fallen members of bands. And when I think, ladies and gentlemen, and excuse me for 1 minute, I think when you're in a band and one of your guys passes away, I think a very strange thing happens, because it's not quite the same. And if you wanted like paid tribute to them, it's not quite the same as writing a song with very heavy themes, or write things that about like tragedies or genocides or anything like that. That's writing songs based on that sort of thing is one thing. It's another when it happens, well, something or some circumstance happens so that is so personal that do you even know where to begin? It's probably one of the hardest things in the world, because you're not just losing somebody who was such a core foundation of your group, but also was a lifelong, somebody you went on the road with. And it's, again, there are so many songs all throughout the history of heavy metal music that really go in so many different directions. To Live Is to Die, for example, was the song that Metallica paid tribute to Richard Lee Burton. And it's honestly one of Metallica's greatest of all time for many, many reasons. Then, of course, you got things like I think it was like called Bell Reaper by Mirror Witch, or it was basically an entire 90-minute album that contained one song, and it was specifically entitled like funeral metal. It was designed specifically to act as a tribute through psychedelic music. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we see exactly just how they were willing to celebrate James Sullivan's life, and just what his contributions as a core pillar of Sevenfold's history truly was. So, if you guys want to check out the original video for yourselves, links will all be in the description down below. Rest in peace, James Sullivan, and let's begin. St. James in 3, 2, 1, and...
fun man. Marked by genius, channeled good by some, a bit misunderstood. They've been wrong many times before. Sometimes our saints are sinners. They blur the line to lead the way. Their way. Raise hell in a glass in reverence. The fearless lives of our great saints. Our saints. Never a stranger to late night snake bite fist fights in empty pints. Unrivaled heights, yeah. He led with songs they sing along, created bonds that held so strong. Some were right and some were wrong. Sometimes our saints are sinners. They blur the line to lead the way. Their way. Raise hell in a glass in reverence. The fearless lives of our great saints. Our saints. It's by the sea and that night's end. That's when the sentence will begin. That's when he had that certain light inside his head. For every whisper he would scream. For every drought he'd share a dream. For every sorrow there's a light from all St. James. On the sea by the cliffs he watches. He waits the night to see the day his way. Last call will find us all, but there's a light that leads the way. Our way. Sometimes our saints are sinners. They blur the line to lead the way. Their way. Raise hell in a glass in reverence. The fearless lives of our great saints. Our saints.
You know, I like to imagine that if James Sullivan was with us today and he saw this, I think he would be proud of the fact that they thought this much of him. Which is always, I think, it might possibly be one of the bittersweet things about stuff like this, is that you begin to almost wonder about all the things they say about their fallen comrades and what exactly you think about what they've got to say at this point, because it's I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I honestly don't know, but I also think they wanted to make it as special as they can, because they deserved it. And you have, because remember, these guys, they worked together and they were systematically making great music, and they wanted to just go out there and just take over the world. And Hail to the King, ladies and gentlemen, for me still is, as a complete package, absolutely awesome. And for me, for this literally being the very first album of going through Sevenfold cover to cover, it's easily one of the best experiences I've had this year already. And then you have to come into consideration about that, yes, this pretty much should have just been included as it was, because clearly it meant enough to these guys to write it, to celebrate his life as a guy from their description was somebody who drank a lot, who was no stranger to fights. He was fearless. They should have probably have called the Rev more like the Governor or something like that, because if they make it sound like he was a drinker or somebody who loves that sort of nightlife. And that's, to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, one of the best things as well. Again, I love it when they said the end as well of sometimes our saints are sinners. They blur the lines and lead the way, their way. Raise hell and a glass in reverence, the fearless lives of our great saints. I love the idea, and you know what? I don't quite have one on me, ladies and gentlemen, but you know what? I raise my glass, and if the great late James Sullivan so happens to be listening to this, I certainly hope he thinks a lot of his boys through all this, as much as I did going through this as well, because this was an experience. Here's to you, Mr. Sullivan. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that was Hail to the King. Wow. Indeed. It seems almost like I couldn't quite believe just I would have as much fun as a time as I did this, and here we are at the end. Ah, dear. So anyway, I hope all of you guys have enjoyed this reaction video to St. James and the whole of Hail to the King, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.